Are you turning 65 soon, or just going to Medicare because of disability soon? Whatever it is, you're new to Medicare and you are so worried about these out-of-pocket costs, these mistakes that people are making with their Medicare that cost them thousands of dollars. Well, if that's you, I want to talk about this in the video. What are the 3 mistakes that lead to that? What are the 3 mistakes that lead to people having these thousands of dollars that could have been avoided? Because that is a real fear, and that is a real thing. People make mistakes every day, and some of those mistakes lead to a lot of money out of your pocket, especially with your Medicare coverage. It's not something you do all the time. And so we help people avoid those mistakes. Avoid those mistakes are going to make a lot of, or cost you a lot of money. And I want to start by saying this. If you're one of those people who are about to start Medicare and you want to avoid these mistakes, nothing replaces talking to an agent. So follow the information in the video below to talk to one of our agents today about getting the right coverage and the right strategy and put in place for your Medicare. Now, let's talk about in this video the top 3 things, or the top 3 mistakes that lead to a lot of money, thousands of dollars out of your own pocket that you could make with Medicare that we see happen all the time. The first one that we're going to talk about is your Part B and D penalty. A lot of people don't know this, but if I am eligible for Medicare and I decide not to go to Medicare because maybe I don't want to pay that premium, if I don't have creditable coverage, I accrue a penalty for Part B and for Part D. Those are both penalties that I can accrue that are separate penalties. And these are penalties that I will pay every month for the rest of my life once I enroll into Medicare. Now, we do have videos that talk about creditable coverage and how to avoid these penalties altogether, but I want to talk about not missing your enrollment period, making sure you get everything done in a timely fashion, and making sure that you do have the right coverage in place so that you avoid these penalties, because you have time frames that you have to have things done. Specifically, you have what we call your initial enrollment period, which is IEP. That's a 7-month window that starts 3 months before my 65th birth month, that I can enroll in Part A, B, and D, or C. These 2 specifically, if I don't enroll in that time frame, every month after that I'm not enrolled, I accrue a penalty. So I've got to get enrolled within that 7-month window, that starts 3 months before my 65th birth month. If I don't, I can start accruing a penalty, and that penalty is 1% every month that I'm not enrolled into creditable coverage. And it's capped at 10% every year. In other words, I could have a 10% penalty for Part B and for Part D if I'm not enrolled into creditable coverage or enrolled into one of these, right? Now, if I go, let's say 3 or 4 years and I have a 40% penalty, that would be a 40% penalty for Part B and a 40% penalty for Part D that I'm not enrolled in creditable coverage. That can end up costing me a lot of money. Let me explain why. Part B, your penalty is going to be on the Part B premium, which this year is $202.90, so we'll base that off of just $200 for easy math. That's going to be a 40% penalty, which means that my coverage is going to cost me now $280 a month. $280 a month rather than $200. And the premium is actually higher, and it will be higher by the time you go to Medicare if you elect to go 3 or 4 years. That's $80 a month, which is going to be right at $960 a year that I would spend because of that Part B premium penalty. And then I have to pay my Part D penalty, which is a percentage of the average premium for a prescription drug plan, which is around $40 right now, which means that I'm going to end up spending another $18 a month on my Part D premium. And that changes every year. If I have a 40% penalty, every year that this goes up, my penalty matches it. It doesn't just stay at what it was locked in. It's going to go up with it. And so that can end up being thousands of dollars every year that I spend in premium because I was not enrolled into creditable coverage. The next thing that I want to talk about here, as far as avoiding a mistake, I have Part B and I have Part D penalties. The second point that I want to talk about is packaging the wrong policies. Packaging the wrong policies. most beneficiaries know that I need to go either to a Medicare Advantage plan or a Medicare supplement plan, and then I got to get dental, vision, hearing, and then I got to get drug coverage. But they don't realize that there's other things they need to consider, like long-term care, or maybe critical illness protection, or maybe something like a home health care, to avoid some out-of-pocket costs. Medicare does not cover things like nursing home, assisted living, doesn't cover your $2,100 max out-of-pocket on drugs. There are lots of things you need to consider that we like to package together. And there's a lot of money that you could save by doing this. For example, nursing home. The average nursing home cost, or assisted living cost, whatever, is around $360 a day. Now, I'm not perfect at math, but for 10 days, that's $3,600. And if you want to put that on a span of 100 days, that's $30,000, nearly $40,000 you could spend that could have been covered had we gotten the right policies in your package. So you certainly want to consider getting the right policies in place. The third point that you need to consider is picking the cheapest plan. This is a mistake that a lot of beneficiaries make, is they go and pick the cheapest plan. Well, my mom always said it this way: most times the cheapest thing isn't the cheapest thing. And that's the case with picking your Medicare plan. Just because a Medicare plan is $0 doesn't mean it's going to end up being the most affordable. Just because you went with the most limited coverage doesn't mean it's going to be the most affordable. You really want to consider all the out-of-pocket costs that are associated with the plan that you have. And the real way to avoid these mistakes, there's nothing that replaces talking to an agent. That's the real and only way to avoid these mistakes. I can give you these top 3 points, but in order to understand them, you need to talk to somebody today about your Medicare options so that you can avoid these penalties and these mistakes altogether. Medicare, it's a journey. We're a compass. Use us and follow the information in the video below to talk to an agent today.